Hello all and welcome to the channel all about economic board games. I am taking a look back over July with all my plays and all the juicy economic stuff I have managed to find out there. So at first then, a few games that have either been reprinted or are coming out soon. And the first one is Vegas Showdown. Now this is an older game. I played it a bunch and I do have access to this copy. I do play it quite regularly and I do like this game. It's not the most complex, but in general the theme where you're going to Vegas and you are trying to run this sort of restaurant and get these tiles out to develop it, and your sort of auction is occurring as you're bidding on these tiles. You want to create this sort of path through your area in front of you. You've also got like casino slots and you're developing your casino and you're slowly generating revenue and victory points. And the one which is kind of the least is the one you're getting, and you're just trying to develop it slowly and compete against everyone else in this sort of nice interactive aspect of the game to get what you want at the right time. So this one then, it is a newer version and you can see they've done a bit of a rejig on the artwork, which I think looks good. It pops the colours out a little bit more, but I'm a little bit disappointed they've not really gone into a little bit more with just adding a bit more flavour to the game. You know, it looks fine, the original, and it's playable and it's really good, and I could just recommend that as its own version alone. But I thought if you've got this opportunity to redo it, then just go all out. Now, obviously, I haven't played this, I haven't seen each of the tiles, so maybe there's some variety, but from what I can see from the images, it looked pretty much identical. Maybe they just want to, rejig it, bring it out for the masses, and hopefully, more people will recognise and play this game. But anyway, a Vegas Showdown with a reprint. Next then, a game that is so hot right now on the Geek. It's just everywhere, and it's called Asian Tigers. Now, it looks superb. I spotted this a while back. Really caught my attention. The artwork's fascinating. It's had a little bit of misgivings over how it was produced, whether it was AI or, someone's actually designed it. But hey, it looks great. Now, it's a 1 to 4 player game, and it's got a lot of facets that I think are people like. You got worker placement, developing your engine, and some of the designers here are very, recognisable and have done some really good stuff. Now it says 120 minutes, sort of medium, heavy complexity. And what are you doing then? So you've got these Asian economies, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, and known as the Asian Tigers. And you are now implementing policies to create optimal investment conditions, it says. Now, you are an investor and you're sponsored by these Asian Tigers to try and develop this market and make it flourish. You'll be building plants, research laboratories, sponsor universities and establish factories that are going to be producing a whole host of resources. So it all sounds great so far. You've got things like owning, your own management decisions. You're producing resources of ships, machinery, automobiles, chemicals, finance and electronics. This is the way you're going to be serving the global markets to succeed. Now, you can see we've got a few images I've just shown you enough now of the components. From what I can see, it looks nice, it sounds nice. So definitely looking forward to seeing more on this, and there's a lot of buzz out there. Next up then, a game called Farland, where you are settlers competing to score points by engaging in agriculture and breeding livestock. So it's more on the agricultural side of things, but I like games like Terra Futura, obviously Agricola, and this one says 2 to 4 players, 45 to 90 minutes, Cheyenne Board Games, and basically you are taking on the role of a setter, as I've already said, but just competing against all your opponents. And I like games like Terra Futura and Agricola. They've got clever combinations of worker placement. Not really sure if this is in that sort of genre, or it sounds like it is, but whether we'll play anything like them, we'll see. But yeah, you're basically, expanding your livestock to expand your operations. You're developing your own farms. It says you're working on these territories to become the ultimate agriculturist on this planetary colony. So it's got a slightly sort of dystopia future. It's situated in this solar system. It says BGL 1205. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more on that one. Now the next one is an older game. I came across it, but I just had to highlight because it's 1 to 2 players and it's a print and play game. You can just go and print with some of the files on the Geek, and it's called Farmers Finances. Now I love things like Happy Pigs and things like that, and Empire and a few of those solo games. So this one, you're becoming the most prosperous farmer in the market, in this ever-changing economy. So 10 to 15 minutes, super quick. And in this one, you've got this market, it's changing the values of the buying and the selling, your dice rolling, and you're buying these goods, and the value of wheat and animals gets cheaper or more expensive. And you're basically buying and selling at the right times. But you can see some lovely art here. You've got all the fronts and the backs there. It's got a very simplistic look. Here it is on the main board. So yeah, go and check that one out. And if I get a chance to play it, hopefully I'll bring that to the channel. Now the next game then, very simplistic. The designers and publishers hopefully going to send us a copy some point later in the year when it gets further down development. But it's called Smoothie Wars. Now this is a strategic game, it says, where players are competing to sell fresh fruit smoothies at different locations on this tropical island. And the goal is basically to finish the week with the most money from selling these. Now it looks rather simple. You've got bartering, you're bargaining, and you kind of mislead others, it says, with your intentions before each turn. Looks rather streamlined, simple. I like this sort of board in the middle. I love games like Container where it's very, functional and it's the depth to the game rather than, rules heavy. I like things like Happy Pigs, like I've already said, and this kind of reminds me of those aspects, those basic core economic principles of buying and selling and, choosing your actions at the right time, maybe a bit of negotiation. So yeah, this looks colourful, looks cool. Looking forward to bringing this one to you guys. Next up then, going to butcher this, Euclair Traction. Now, investors, it says, compete for real estate purchases and the building of a trolley land. There's not really many images on this, and those that are on the Geek are a little bit crazy looking. But basically, yeah, it's brought to you by Oddly Specific Board Games. It says plays 3 to 6, 35 to 50 minutes. No idea what this is going to be like, but basically it is a game where you are investing in these various locations around Wisconsin and you're influencing the building of this trolley to capitalise on your investments. You invested in the attractions, in the electric park, you've been built in this lake place, and are you able to influence investments and routes by using their connections to a prominent member of the city, it says. So, caught my attention, like what I see, we'll see what comes out of that one. Okay, next one. I'm on the fence over this, really. I love Friedman Freeze's games, and this one's called Power Grid Outpost. Now, from what I can gather, it's a rejig on Power Grid based off a game which I've not played. It's an old economic game called Outpost with this sort of space science fiction type theme. And I believe Power Grid was sort of loosely based on that. So, it's an anniversary. They're sort of moulding the two. From what I can see, it looks like Power Grid, but with a space type theme. And it's basically saying spread your network of power plants, shelters, and technology. So a slight rejig. So I like what I see here. It's got a similar player count, 2 to 6, similar playing time. So just curious what Friedman Freeze has done with this one. Okay, that was all the games that have come out. And there's going to be loads more coming up in the next month or so with Essen Spiel just around the corner. And Gen Con is out shortly as well. If not already, I can't even remember when that's out, in August, I believe. So, games I have played, and I've not played loads this month, but the ones I have played, Terminus. Now, I've brought this to the channel, and I've played it a bunch this month, and I've had a lot of fun with it, guys. I've played 2-3 players, and I think, it's still a solid game. For me, there's lots to like with this kind of action rondelle where you're going around and you're determining the timing aspects of, when to get these resources, and then you got this extra added challenge of storing these in your capacity and trying to do things at the right time. I've got to a point after probably 3-4 plays where I'm starting to think, what more am I going to get out of certain strategies in the game? Because you've got these agendas and you've got these sort of missions you're trying to complete. Called missions, I can't remember now. But basically, you've got these various ways you're going to get victory points. And sometimes the game can really sway massively if one person just happens to be in the right spot at the right time and just get this sort of 20-point earner, which just then makes them the winner. So most of the points in the game, I'm trying to figure out the different routes and the paths to victory, and whether that person who just achieves that outright wins the game. So I'm curious. Now the actual mechanics in the game and the theme, excellent folks, can't fault them. It's mainly just the scoring. You could be there trying your hardest to get these demand tokens across the board and build in the right locations to develop, set collect these to get a multiplier. And that's great, you get so many points, but someone else maybe just gets in, the right spots of the board for the right, agendas or whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, the agendas are already visible at the beginning of the game and you get free will over where you place these and there's no limitations. You can go really close to other people's areas. But if you make that mistake or you're not quite getting it right early on, then you can, really be at a disadvantage. So, yeah, But give it a go, folks. I like the game a lot. I'm just curious over the scoring on it. And hopefully, maybe a 4-player game and what have you with more options either over the scoring will assist. Okay, next game. Okay, Great Western Trail. I think it's the second, it says second edition, and this is the Argentina one. Now, I love the original, folks. It's not a game I play loads, once, twice a year, a max. But this one, I was very curious to give it a go and see what it was all about, whether it improved the game. Now, it's pretty much the same game, but it adds this whole extra layer of sort of exporting your goods to foreign lands, and you're shipping them out, and you're getting these VPs and bonuses on there as well. But it's added this layer where you need wheat, and you need wheat to be able to do a lot of that. Now, for me, it's made things like the cow strategy, where you're getting all the best cows and honing your deck, which is still, applicable. It's made it less valuable. I used to love getting absolutely a bunch of points from just collecting these cows and utilising them. In this game, less so. It is absolutely all about, from what I can gather from the couple of players I've had, foreign investment. So I've had a lot of misgivings over this version in terms of it just feels like it's added a little bit too much. Now, there's certain games, nothing related to this, but say like Splendor. I love Splendor. But then you go and add Marvel to it, or the new Pokemon one. And they're great themes, but it just adds an extra level of complexity, which maybe takes from the original likeness of the game and what you actually enjoyed about the streamlined flow of it. Games like King of Tokyo, love that game. And these aren't even economic. But when you add King of New York and it just adds a bit more complexity to it, you're like, it's not quite the same game. So for me, it's in that same category. And, lots to like. You'll have a good time. But I think I just prefer Great Western Trail, the original. Okay, next up then. I played one just behind me, which is here, Earthrising, 20 years to transform our world. That's been out a year or two. I managed to speak with the designers at the UK Games Expo, got a copy. We'll be bringing this to the channel soon. And I've been trying to get a few plays under my belt here. That's a really nice game, folks. Now, don't get me wrong. The look of it with the meeples, you're like, what's going on here with this wood? But it's trying to be, a game that is made of renewable resources and be conscious of how games are produced. So I like that. Now, the game itself, superb, folks. You've got this notion of you're working cooperatively. You are trying to play the right cards at the right time, do the right actions, develop these, or what they're called now, these areas where they're sustainable, non-sustainable, and do things just at the right time as the years tick by. And it's got this very clever, I can't remember, someone commented on my channels like this donut economics, I think they mentioned, completely forgot the term now. But it's this notion of where one aspect of the economy or the global impacts then impacts another, and then another and another. So they all very, act like it's nice synergy amongst the different areas. Now you're trying to combat these by just making those right decisions as global leaders here. And we actually completed this game and won it in our 2-player version of it. And I played another game and completely miserably lost. So it's nice to see that you can win it and you can equally be devastated. Now, it's got interesting aspects of where the outer segments then come into the middle, and that helps you place more workers because they're being, utilised, and there's less people in poverty. So just lots of fascinating concepts and, not groundbreaking. It's sort of medium complexity. It won't take you too long. But it just really nicely summarises what we should probably all be more thinking about in the Earth and well, as the title says, Earthrising and controlling that climate change. So lots to like here. I like the artwork and just everything fits neat. So hopefully bringing you a video on that soon. And that was all the games I have played. Now, a few things I've spotted. Ark Nova. I just spotted this image. Some lovely components. You've got elephants, you've got gorillas, which aren't really massive in the game, so I'm curious why they chose that one. But you've got the red pieces here and the giraffes as well. So really like those. And this next image, wowzers, someone has been busy creating customized maps for Ark Nova. Look at them all. So I believe you can just go and head over on the Geek. I might have to pop in the description who has made these, and then you can all bombard them. But they're not official maps, but there's lots going on here, folks. I can't quite see them all to describe, but, more maps, the better. I've got all the expansions for them, and there's only the 2 extra maps, I think, and both sides. So, yeah, lovely to see more. Next up, I noticed a Barrage. I'll see if I can pronounce it. The legendary box is coming to Kickstarter soon. Still yet to play Barrage the original, but anything Barrage, I've heard absolutely great things about this game. And I'm not sure if this is the actual one, but I believe it's a 2-player version out as well. If not, this is the one. So yeah, be mindful of that one. And that, folks, is July. Lots going on and lots more probably going to happen in August as well, as I say, to the build up some of these massive conventions. So thank you all for watching if you're still watching me at the end of this video, and I'll see you all soon.